But
see the players here getting ready on the cameras. Judith, what do you make of their expressions?
has all her self-confidence. She knows that everything went perfectly fine up to this moment. She collected what she could. And Shuvalova is a little bit frustrated on the missed draw and some of the mistakes she understands completely very well that it was completely unnecessary. So concentration is needed more.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we see Zhongyi repeating the position. Do you think she's gonna? Nah, I think it's a little bit too early to take a draw here. I guess with a few minutes on the clock, on the match clock, it would make more sense to make some draws. But I think now it's just you want to try to take advantage of your white games.
Well, of course, it is very typical in classical game and in any time control game. Whenever you have an issue with time, you just play knight g5 and going back and forth. Just a psychological little game and have extra seconds on your clock. And finally, we see the bishop staying on that diagonal. Look at that on a2, just like a sword towards f7. So finally, hopefully we will have some tactics. I don't know, knight h4, queen f3. Something can happen over there. But definitely there will be a lot of action here. c4 next move. So you can see both bishops are not very powerful yet, but any moment bishop takes e5 or something like that can happen. And maybe d takes c6. And the a2 bishop can be extremely powerful in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very interesting opening here. We see them with c6 by Shuvalova, putting some pressure on the center. Queen b3, which might have perhaps been a missed opportunity. Maybe there was a sacrifice with someone like bishop takes c5. And we see Shuvalova just playing rook 88, keeping all of the tension in the position.
I had some very interesting games when I played my match with Boris Spassky, an amazing match. I was just, 16 years old. And we had quite a few Baer system because he was an expert on that. And, in the final game, we played an amazing match with a lot of action, whatever. What c5? C5? Look at this pawn structure. It's quite artistic.
Yeah, for sure. But continue your story.
So my story was that it was a 10-game match, and out of 9 games, I reached 5.5, so I won the match. We also changed location for the last game. And imagine he was playing, he missed up the move order, and he played this rook e8 after knight d7, so I could go bishop f7 and capture the queen with this knight g5, knight e6. Last game, and I can't even say that I'm sorry that I missed it. I mean, how would be that? I missed it, so I just played the regular moves. It was a missed move order by Boris, and it was an amazing game. He won, but it was still a fantastic game. But he's a big expert on that. But we have so much action here. What is this? Knight d4, all the pawns are hanging.
Yeah, lots of tension in the center. A nice intermezzo here by Polina, bishop takes d5, attacking the queen on b3. All right, so let's see where Ton's going to go with their queen now. Maybe to like... I guess maybe the d3 or like g3 makes a lot of sense. But these games are so much faster, right? Those 2 minutes really do make a difference, as their players are already getting down to like 1.5 minutes on their clocks.
Bishop d5 is a nice intermediate move. And queen g3. I mean, even sometimes to include more intermediate moves like knight h5 before capturing the knight, it's possible.
Right,
wow.
c5. I mean, yeah, taking the pawn on e5, not capturing the bishop, but it feels like that's inviting some tactics, maybe with a nice discovery by moving the knight. So let's see what Polina is going to do. I feel like this game can really go either way.
Yeah, some fun things can happen. If white could keep the d6 passed pawn, then of course it's a huge advantage. But I have doubts that there is any chance that white can keep that pawn.
Yeah, it feels like that pawn should disappear in the next couple of moves. That being said, this bishop was under attack. She moves it back to the d5 square. I feel like now if black is, let's say, able to keep the bishop and rounded that pawn on d6, black is having a very comfortable game.
Well, I would like to see white's knight, one of the knight on c5 shortly. That would make progress from white side, I believe.
Hmm.
But black has the bishop pair, and in this position, it makes it's a good stuff for black.
Yeah, the bishops are very powerful in an open board. And look at the clock. Now we see Tan Zhongyi dropping down. She's down to 35 seconds against 122 for Polina. So I think Polina is doing a great job. Maybe the break came at a good time for her to reset.
I like the move bishop d5 because it poses problems for white. And it was kind of also a little bit unexpected because I think it was more expected that the knight jump. At the same time, after bishop d5, you shouldn't forget that black cannot jump with the knight because the d5 bishop is under attack. So queen d6 is a must, so there will be exchange and knight c5. I mean, white is doing fine, but black is also very fine. Having the bishop on c4 is excellent place. Knight d5 next move, or knight d7. The computer
Hmm.
doesn't like bishop c4. Maybe because of concrete measures of knight f3, it's possible to regroup, open up the diagonal for the black square bishop of white. I mean, the c5 knight is is very strong.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah,
knight
the
f3.
Zena C5 is doing a great job, and I think, yeah, perhaps she had to move that knight earlier, because now, yes, black has the bishop pair, but it's been traded out. There's no good way to actually keep both bishops on the board, and I feel like now the game should be headed for a draw. Although, if anything, maybe black is still a little bit better because her pieces are slightly more active.
Yeah, it depends whether white wants to capture the bishop, but I think there was no rush to that. But yeah, it can be tricky because black goes rook c3, white goes. It's unpleasant.
It's definitely
I
still
would
a little bit
keep the rook on
unpleasant.
b3. I would
Yeah,
rook the pawn rook on b3. Why did she allow to come with the king to e3?
I think she was maybe a little bit worried that white would go king to the c2. Now white has activated the rook, and I guess this should just be a draw. Rook d6, and black doesn't have a way to keep the game going.
Is black going to be playing on? White is playing on. Look at that.
Wow, Tan Zhongji again showing fighting spirit. We saw that also in the last game with the opposite color bishops, where she had the opportunity to force a rook trade, but she kept the rooks on the board and managed to win. Here also, she declines repetition, keeps the game going. So let's see if it will pay off again.
This I mean in the previous game I understood her decision. Now I don't understand her decision. It's
We should still just be headed for a draw. Rook d8, threatening checkmate, but there's king h6 to stop it. So now you just drop the rook back. Yeah, I don't see a way here for either side to make progress.
well, she forgot to go back to h5, so the pawn would be captured.
Okay, rook d8. Okay, now,
Okay,
wait,
so
black's
why
getting
don't
some...
you lose this?
Yeah, wait, isn't white just all of a sudden completely lost after rook takes a3
Yes,
or giving a check
but
first?
the time.
Hmm. Anything can still happen, but black has two connected passers. Even though you have 3 seconds on the clock, just... Oh, I thought just push the pawn.
Come with the king.
So still not over. Wait, check and b8?
But why not king g4 first? Of course, with 2 seconds.
Rook.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
Wow, what a game. And
Wow.
eventually it ends in a draw. I think Tan Zhongji can be very relieved about that outcome. She was lost at some point, but, she kept her nerves and manages to save a very important half point.
Yes, but I mean, look at that. How crazily Tan Zhongyi has the fighting spirit. I mean, at this point in this game, I believe that it was not that it's not only unnecessary, but it was kind of irresponsible decision, I can say. But she has her self confidence, right? These decisions really show how repetition. I'm going to be playing even a dead draw position because I think I'm good. I have to play it out, and let's give the opportunity to make mistakes for the opponent.
Yeah, no, very good point. Yeah, she's not afraid to play out any sort of position. All right, so let's see what we have here. We have a very interesting game. It started off as a Spanish 4 knights, and I feel like black is doing pretty fine here. Maybe black can go for a very quick castles, followed by f5 to put some pressure on that queen on f3.
Yeah, queen on f3 kind of looks funny. It's little no moves, but d4. Things are sharpening out here.
Yeah, I like what Polina did, going for the central push with d4. Now bishop d4, trying to trade off that bishop. Now I guess you just recapture with the queen. And the knight on h5 all of a sudden is a little bit off. And the black king is feeling a little bit airy on the g8 square.
Yeah, but the question is how black is going to continue, because suddenly after queen e4, bishop h5 would ruin the black's king side. So it looks pretty vulnerable, black's king position.
Exactly. I was wondering if black could go for a move like knight f6, but that might run into bishop to c4 check. And if you move your king to h8 or g7, then white can take on e5. Yes, she takes on d4, but now if white recaptures the queen, you have the threats of bishop takes h5 and queen takes d6, which is why she goes d5. But this leaves white with a great position as the black king is quite exposed.
It is. It is very exposed. Oops.
Rook d3, queen f6, trying to get the queens off. I think if Tan gets the queens off here, she is doing quite okay here. I mean, the double pawns aren't too much of an issue, I would think.
Probably white goes queen b4, for example, or queen c5, keeping rook f3 as an idea.
All right, she drops back to d2, but this gives black the opportunity to develop with bishop d7 or maybe bishop f5.
But I think black is doing completely fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Nice activity, rook e8. Is the b2 hanging? Or that would be too much, knight d4. Cutting off the queen, going back to defend the king.
Yep, she agrees. She goes bishop to e4. Nice move. She's making it difficult for her to go rook f3. You can go pawn f3, but then your rook on g3 will be a little bit stuck, and black can maybe just move the bishop back and threaten to go h4 to trap that rook.
Yeah, after bishop e4, as you say, h4, and also later rook g8, the g2 can be a good target for black. Queen on f6, very optimally placed.
So she goes pawn to h3. All right, so let's see what Tan's going to do here. She goes rook to g8, aiming to put some pressure along the g file. All right, maybe like knight f4, putting some pressure on the pawn on h5. It still feels like it might be a little bit easier for black to blunder something, as, I don't know, black king is still a little bit more exposed.
Which color would you take?
I would prefer white here, because I feel like the black king is more exposed. But which side would you choose here?
I would take black.
Interesting.
The potential, the potential that it's like rook g8, attacking, some tricks around.
Yeah, black definitely has a lot of attacking potential on the g file.
Let's take on g2. Let's take on g2 and h4.
I'm a little bit surprised she didn't do that. She went bishop to g6. I guess keeping the idea of h4 alive, attacking the knight, followed by bishop b4 back. Okay, so
it's also very painful.
Yeah. Now the pawn on b2 is hanging. So let's see. Yeah, she goes c3 to defend it. And look at the clock. Tan is up a full minute on the clock.
But why is the Baer thinks that white is better? Bishop e4, what do you do?
Maybe white can go f3. Because if you take with the bishop, white can... Right, but white can take...
that's the trick!
Yes, let's...
Yeah.
And I think because of that, she played rook g7. Maybe we can show that line real quick. If black would have played bishop e4, there would have been f3. And in case black takes, we can recapture. And if black takes, then there's queen d4 check. And after rook g7, You cannot take the queen right away because the pawn is pinned, but you can give up your queen and now take, and white's up a knight, and white is winning. But we have more moves. Rook g7 was played, and now knight to d4.
Bishop f7 I don't like because it becomes very passive.
c5, good move though, attacking the knight, which doesn't really have a good square. You'd like to go to f3, but black just picks up the knight. So she goes back to e2.
So let's see how black will improve her position. Rook g5 maybe?
Yep, rook g5 makes sense. 17, queen g5 offering the queen trade, and Polina goes for it. Knight f4. Still feels like black has some weaknesses as rook e7 is coming next.
Takes rook f5, knight d3.
Knight d3 on the board. Maybe you just take the pawn on a2 or bishop c4 attacking the knight. This d pawn all of a sudden is becoming pretty dangerous.
Interesting way of playing knight e1, regrouping it to f3.
Okay, rook d5, planning d3. But yeah, now white's in time to go knight d2, bishop a6. But the bishop here looks a little bit off. And I like f3, followed by king f2 to e3.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful to have the king on e3.
Yeah, but black very quickly picked up that pawn on a2, rook e1 check, and now the white king is pushed away. Now you have to give up the pawn on g2. Tan, again, she keeps the game alive, as, like you said, she's confident that she can outplay her opponent in the time scrambles.
The bishop on a6 is kind of tricky. It can get in trouble, for example, now.
And it does, rook g5, and she's winning the bishop.
Yeah.
All right, this is not over yet, as black still has 2 pawns, and they're pushing up the board.
Yeah, but it's knight e4. It's I would bet on white, even with the very small time on the clock.
The black king really is stuck over here. King h3 only move, but now you just check and pick up the pawn on h5. This should be a win for white.
And
not over yet. King e2 maybe, trying to pick up the... Oh, knight e2. Now it's over.
Yeah. So Shuvalova is back.
Yep, nice win for Shuvalova. Only down 1 point in the match now, and she switches it up. The ruler pass was not working out, really, for whatever reason. So she switches to the Caro-Kann defense. Do you think maybe she... I don't think she looked anything up during the break, as there was only like a few minutes, but maybe she just took some time to mentally reset and think to herself, like, hey, which opening do I want to switch to?
Well, I'm not sure if she plays it in classical games and how much she's prepared on this. But of course, in Blitz, you may also think of new alternatives, though I would be very surprised if at this point she would do it. I would more think that you do your own stuff, which you're prepared, and you move on to one-on-one or 1+1 time control. And there already you can go anywhere just to surprise your opponent and motivate yourself. And you just want to deviate something to put some pressure off yourself. But of course, Caro-Kann is a great opening, extremely complicated, right? And also it can happen that you have problem yourself, let's say, against Caro-Kann or challenges, opening challenges. And you say, okay, why not? I want to try it from the other side. And but it's a very complicated game. I mean, look at that. Black setup, having the knight on d5. She's going to be going long castle. f5 is there. So very energetic position for black.
Yeah, I quite like white's position. It feels like the king didn't really have a safe place. She went queenside castle, but the king also doesn't feel super safe over there. F5 definitely is a move to kick the knight away, but then you always have to reckon with knight at g5. So Tan really putting some serious pressure with the white pieces, but you made a very good point. I think often a good strategy when choosing your openings, just try to think like, hey, what do I find annoying to face? So why not just play myself?
Now the e6 pawn is very vulnerable, so that's the big issue for black.
A4, nice move. Trying to go A5, and you don't really want to go A5 yourself. That pawn is always going to be vulnerable, but allowing A5 also looks problematic.
But you know what? Maybe I would go A5 with black. And she does. Because allowing A5 would be so much annoying that I rather have my weakness, but I have a very beautiful B4 outpost for one of my pieces, for bishop or the knight.
Yep, bishop can go there, then I can go there. Now Ton puts her other knight on E4, rook G8, nice move, activating the rook. Maybe just double up the rook somehow, rook G4 maybe, taking the pawn on H4, followed by rook G8 would be a nice plan.
Rook G4 is a great post for the rook.
Let's see if she's going to go for that, or if she has another plan in mind. These pawns on F6 and E6 are also a little bit vulnerable, but it's not that easy to attack them, as the knight on D5 is doing a great job holding everything together.
Well, now probably in this knight B5 kind of pin is in the air. And that can be dangerous for black, especially that the A5 pawn can be captured after that.
All right, so she goes F5, but she allows knight G5. I'm not a big fan of that one, as I feel like the knight on G5 is blocking all the counterplay along the G file. I guess you just recapture the bishop. And yeah, I don't see how you continue here. You cannot take the pawn on, oh, but now knight B5. I was just about to point it out, forking the queen and the rook. And we see Shuvalova shaking her head. She probably missed that move, knight D5.
And it was there already in the air for the last several moves. Well, she had nothing else to try than to sacrifice her queen.
But it feels like black cannot have enough here. Bishop E3, as there's also so many loose pieces in black's position.
Oh, black has absolutely not enough counterplay, but she has her fighting spirit. And also that it's very difficult to give up when you blunder. You move on, you try. It's a blitz game after all. And try to consolidate your thoughts. I mean, this is not going to be a game where black can save it. Last time, losing position.
Yeah, so she has more time on the match clock, giving herself a better chance for a comeback. And she opens up with 1e4, and we see another Spanish 4 knights, which I thought worked out quite well for Tan Zhongyi, but she switches it up with the move bishop to b4.
Yeah, 4 knights I was playing myself at some point, but I can't say I was a big fan of this opening. It was a very slow kind of building up. And we see a very symmetrical position.
So I assume when you, I think you alluded to this before, I think you always play the reload pass, right? That's also where you had that great match with Spassky.
Yes, but I played Scotch, and also time to time I played 4 knights, starting with after e4, e5, knight c3. I was the big King's Gambit player when I was a teenager. I became a grandmaster playing only King's Gambit. Can you imagine? I can't imagine anymore. How could I get along only playing King's Gambit until age of 13 or something?
Wow, and then I guess maybe one of your coaches told you, like, well, you know, maybe you should switch it up, or why did you abandon the King's Gambit?
Well, because it was not good. And the thing is that, that I played King's Gambit even with Bishop c4. So I was absolutely, I don't even understand how I could win games. And actually I won. I won when I was 12. I won a very good game against Glenn Fleer, a grandmaster from England. So I played some good games and very successfully. But I mean, by the time I was 2,500, I mean, it is very clear that it was a huge hole in my repertoire to play only that. But I was, and very rarely in Blitz or Rapid, I played it against Topalov and some of the players, and I was even successful, bizarrely.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, no, I guess at some point the King's Gambit, especially if your opponent's expected, it's just a bit too risky, especially in classical chess.
Yeah. For a surprise, it's good in very special circumstances, tournament situations. But here black has a great position.
Hmm. Yeah, I think black is doing pretty fine. The knight on e5 is doing a great job holding everything together. Why not queen f4? Maybe queen f5 coming next. Honestly, though, I don't really see a good plan for both players to do anything. Like maybe a plan for white can be to go like g4, h4, or g5, but it feels a little slow.
Well, probably I would still pick white, but well, rook b8 is quite reasonable. Probably she wants to go rook b1, exchanging one of the rooks. But it's very difficult to discover something that something would really happen, right? There is no danger for any of the side. The question is where queen e3, queen c6 defends the pawn. Though maybe black can get more now because he's very active. And now the rook on b1 is very powerful, queen on d4. So the f2 rook is a little bit tied there because cannot move because of all kind of queen g1 checks. And also with having the rook on b1, it can also go rook a1 and just without noticing it, but grabbing the pawn on a3.
Yeah, all of a sudden I quite like black's chances. As you pointed out, rook a1 and rook takes a3 is a nice plan. And for white, it's hard to see what they're going to do in the meantime. Maybe queen f5 and just try to go for a perpetual is an idea.
That can happen very easily. Actually, right now I don't see anything if white goes queen f5. How can black do anything against it after rook h1, king g3, maybe queen g1, trying to get... Ah, black goes back. That's interesting.
Yeah, once again, Zhongyi keeps the game alive. It's very interesting to see. I mean, she's been ahead in the match for most of it. You would think, if you're ahead, that you are not unhappy with the draw, but she wants to fight in every game, and it's been paying off.
Yeah. And now again, it's interesting that she created a pass pawn, a pawn. But of course, white should be able to just balance the game.
I would think so. Rook g3 now, threatening checkmate. And
Rook
then,
g8.
I guess, rook g8 to defend. Yeah, queen d7, nice move, stopping that a-pawn from pushing forward. Maybe, yeah, queen a6 to try to push that pawn again.
I would have been interested to see queen b5, Probably queen a7 anyway. Rook f3, rook f1, rook b1. Suddenly white can have quite reason. Rook d8. Now the white rook is tied to the d3 pawn. That's a nice idea, though. Very nice idea.
Yeah, I really like what Tan has done here. Now the pawn on d3 is weak, so the rook is a little bit stuck. The queen is stuck defending this pawn. So she slowly but surely improves her position with king h7, making sure that in case she does move the rook, queen e8 will not come with a check. And again, white just is going to have to sit and wait here.
Do you think she wants to go f5 at some point? She could play f5 in the previous move.
Yeah, I like the plan she's gone for here. Rook d6 and queen d8, doubling up the queen, attacking the pawn on d3. And I don't know, a queen trade looks very scary, as then black can just push the a-pawn and he cannot ever move the rook, because that's going to hang d3.
Okay, so taking on d3, queen c5, queen e4. Then black is better.
Yeah, white can take on c5 and take on a5. She might get a pass pawn herself, but it's going to be difficult to push that pawn off the board. So, yeah, Ton, again, we've said it before, her fighting spirit is paying off here. I think black's got great chances to win this one, as the e-pawn is going to push up the board very quickly.
Yeah, it's very nice already the way she created a great opportunity. Oh, queen c4. Black is winning.
Yeah, she decided to give a check first, but yeah, just take the pawn on c4 now.
White probably e4 is
not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, probably e4 was just winning because the king is far away, but why not to capture the pawn first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right, so f5, f4.
Queen d3.
Yeah, this looks super tough for white. Black is just such easy moves. Okay, the clock has expired, so this is officially the last game in the 3+1 portion. Let's see if Ton can win another game. That would mean a 3-point lead for her. There will be a lot of games in the bullet section, but a 3-point lead is very difficult to overcome.
Well, indeed. The only thing is that in one-on-one, 1+1 section, there anything can happen. It's a mouse game, partly. Fights of the mouse.
100%, yeah. So Queen G6, 3 seconds for Shuvalova on her clock. It's, yeah, again, I think it's crucial that she holds this game. Wait, is there a draw now? Check and check. There's G6 and Queen.
Oops.
She just takes the pawn.
Anything can happen, you see? Anything.
Makes a 4. Yeah, but now just check and... Oh, you're just trading King F2. Oh, no, but check! Queen A1! Queen A1! Queen E4. This is still winning. Queen A1. Queen A1 is the key. And No! Because now it's a draw.
Oh!
No, but now White's winning H4. What a turnaround. Queen F3, Queen F4. What a game.
I'm sorry, but...
Wow, Judith, I don't know what we just witnessed, and neither the players can believe it themselves. Look at Zhongyi. She's in disbelief as Polina Shuvalova just made this a match. It's only a 1-point lead for Tan. It could have been 3.